Shall we begin? Yes, good afternoon to all of you. The first physical meeting of the Party Central Committee after the 23rd Party Congress took place on the 30th and 31st of July. What we noted, the major points that we noted there are the following. Thus, these 4 months since the Party Congress have reconfirmed our basic conclusion, and there's a chilling confirmation of the aggressive pursuit by this Modi government of furthering the Hindutva agenda of the fascistic RSS. Now, this is being seen in every facet of our country's life, and this is accompanied by an aggressive neoliberal reforms policy continuing, the loot of our national assets, the sale of our public property and public assets, public sector, the crony capitalism and the corporate communal nexus that has been growing, and all this is leading to a situation where there are unprecedented burdens that are imposed upon the people. So the Central Committee has given a call for nationwide protest actions against these living conditions, burdens that are being imposed by the policies of the Modi government. And in this background of this aggressive pursuit of the Hindutva agenda, the 75th anniversary of India's independence is being observed. And in this event, using this opportunity, the government is vigorously distorting history and in fact rewriting India's history, particularly of the freedom struggle. It is known fact and established and recorded that the RSS had no role to play in the freedom struggle. On the contrary, today they are trying to bring in people like Vinayak Damodar Savarkar as the figure of the freedom struggle, at a higher pedestal than that of Mahatma Gandhi, and trying to appropriate the legacy of the freedom struggle, and given this call for the hoisting of the national flag in every house. Those who did not accept this flag for decades are today appropriating this for the sake of promoting their version of Indian nationalism. So in this background, the Central Committee decided that the party will observe the fortnight beginning 1st of August, that is today, from today till the 15th of August, all over the country, in a campaign on this, marking the 75th anniversary of our independence, culminating with the hoisting of the national flag, which we do normally on every Independence Day, hoisting the national flag in all our party offices and taking a pledge on the preamble of the Constitution in order to safeguard the Constitution, Indian democracy, democratic rights, civil liberties, and the secular democratic character of the Indian Republic. This campaign will also include the role played by the communists during the freedom struggle, and which has been a glorious role in the sense that the communists were the first ones to raise the slogan of complete independence way back in 1921, when Mahatma Gandhi finally in the Karachi session of the AICC in 1929 gave that Purna Swaraj call. So all these aspects will be highlighted. That will be a major campaign that will be undertaken. On the conditions of the people, what we have noted is that we've never had this sort of a long-drawn, sustained, high level of price rise and inflation. This is being led by the rise in prices of food articles and fuel. And on top of this GST hikes have come. So the Central Committee has demanded immediate rollback of the GST hikes, immediate withdrawal of the cess and surcharges imposed on petroleum products. And we have said that if the government wants to raise revenues, that should be done by not imposing burdens on the people, but taxing the super rich. The super rich have been making huge profits. This year, all the companies listed in the Bombay Stock Exchange have collectively made a profit of more than 7 lakh crores of rupees. That is 3 times higher than the annual profit that they made during the decade. Every year, what they used to make, 3 times higher than that during the decade of 2010-2020. With this super profits being made by them, tax them and not burden the people. Unemployment is also reached a staggering proportion. Our youth, in the age group of 20 to 24, there is a 42% unemployment rate. 42%. India's youth are being wasted. Our demographic dividend is being wasted. And this economic slowdown, because of no purchasing power in the hands of the people, and with the price rise, that purchasing power decreases further, and therefore manufacturing withdraws further, more unemployment, no generation of jobs. In that situation, this sort of an unemployment is leading a staggering more than 60 crore people who are of the working age to actually drop out of the employment market. Labor participation rate in India has reached its lowest. People are not looking for jobs because there are no jobs. In this situation, the Central Committee demanded that the government must immediately fill up all the vacancies that exist. More than 10 lakh posts are lying vacant with the central government. And the central government has told the parliament that of the people who applied for central government jobs, only 0.33% were appointed. So immediately fill up all these vacancies and immediately substantially increase the allocation for Manrega so that rural employment, which is a guarantee, can be provided. Today the situation is many of those who already worked under Manrega have not received their wages yet. The government is not releasing these monies. So tax the super rich, release these monies, generate employment, fill up the vacancies, and that will increase the domestic demand in the economy, which will boost your economic recovery with the closed MSMEs starting to reopen when there is demand in the economy. Likewise, the Central Committee noted the ominous developments of the authoritarian attacks. 27 members of parliament being suspended in a session is unprecedented. It's never happened in these 75 years. Parliament is increasingly losing its meaning when all legislations are bulldozed without any discussion, without any consideration, and the brute majority is being used to enact laws without any proper thought being given to it. This is very dangerous. And with this undermining of the parliament, the misuse of the ED, and with the recent Supreme Court judgment, which gives a lethal arming to the ED to trample upon the democratic rights of anybody they choose to, particularly the opposition parties, to destabilize democratically elected governments and to target opposition leaders. This has been the job that the ED has been doing. And according to records, only 23 people out of the thousands of ED cases, only 23 people have been convicted. So the government is using the ED not merely to harass to target opposition parties, to destabilize democratically elected governments, but it is actually telling the people that the process of ED itself is the punishment, that you will be subjected to this punishment irrespective of the conviction. But this is the manner in which you will be subjected to punishment. The 30th-31st, the manner in which he was arrested. Zubair Ahmed, the manner in which he was arrested but finally had to be given interim bail by the Supreme Court. So the Central Committee now demanded Bhima Koregaon case detainees. For 3 years, they are behind the bars. So this sort of an assault, authoritarian assault on people's democratic rights and civil liberties, while strongly condemning, the Central Committee demanded the immediate release of Tista, the Shri Kumar, the release of the Bhima Koregaon detainees, and all the others, including journalists, who continue to be detained under preventive detention laws. Likewise, we've seen in this 4 months a very sharp increase in communal polarization. What happened on the Ram Navami and Hanuman Jayanti days, the targeting of the minorities and the poisonous campaigns of hate and violence against them and terror that's unleashed. And top of this has come this bulldozer politics. And the bulldozer politics that took place in Delhi and in other BJP-ruled states. This is actually destroying communal harmony in the country and deliberately targeting the minority community. And this is an assault on the actually character of a secular democratic republic. And the messaging that is being given by the Prime Minister himself when he unveiled the national symbol on top of the new Parliament building, along with a Hindu religious ritual. The messaging is very clear, whether it is the temple construction in Ayodhya that is done officially by the Prime Minister in the presence of the President of India, the Governor of Uttar Pradesh, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, that it is a state function. Likewise, this national emblem is a state function. That the Constitution of India specifies, while the right for every individual to practice their religious belief and faith is an inviolable right that will be protected by the law of the land. The state does not profess any particular religion. But here you have a virtual declaration that the Indian state is a Hindutva state. Now this is a gross violation of the Indian Constitution. And therefore against all these developments, the Central Committee has appealed to all the secular-minded people in the country to come together to face this assault on the Indian Constitution and to safeguard our Constitution, our democracy, and our secular democratic character of the Indian Republic. The Central Committee also noted with very serious concern the developments that are taking place in Kerala, where the main opposition, led by the Congress-led UDF, has been seeking to destabilize the government there, targeting the Chief Minister. And the BJP government at the center, seeking to misuse again the central agencies in order to lead to the destabilization of the government. That the UDF and the BJP today in Kerala are acting in tandem. And these designs to destabilize the LDF government, the Central Committee has decided that there will be an all-India campaign conducted by the party all across the country, exposing these sort of conspiracies against the LDF government and also highlighting the pro-people alternative policies that the left and democratic run government in Kerala has been pursuing. And we have noted the developments in Bengal, which actually confirm what we have been saying all along, that Trinamool Congress government is a hotbed of corruption. And one of their senior, strong men and a very senior minister, he was not merely picked up and arrested by the ED, but he's also been dismissed by the Chief Minister and the TMC government. Now this, along with the anti-democratic politics of terror and violence unleashed by the TMC in Bengal, it's also a fact that the long-pending chit fund scam cases, Narda and Sharada, they continue to remain unpursued by the CBI. And this is something that the BJP and the TMC will both have to answer. Why is the BJP not pursuing those cases? Once you found this huge amount of cash and jewelry and gold bars in the in houses associated with the ex-minister. So against this, there's a big widespread popular protests that are going on in Bengal, and the party will intensify these protests, calling to account all this corruption, and that all guilty in this such corruption must be punished. Finally, in Tripura, the BJP has changed the Chief Minister a few months before the state elections. And in the state elections, the BJP government continues to pursue its policies of terror and intimidation. In the last round of local body elections, the BJP won more than 90% of the seats uncontested in the state, with a clear indication of the sort of the atmosphere of terror, and that is continuing there. So we are braving the terror and moving across to it. And the destruction of the constitutional order in the state by the state government and its own activities. In this light, the CPIM and the left front in Tripura has called for the broadest mobilization of secular forces to defend democracy and defend the democratic rights of the people there in the run-up to the election. So these are some of the major points that the Central Committee discussed. And this will be the three major campaigns. One is on the 75th anniversary of India's independence. The second is September 14 to 24th on people's issues, livelihood issues, which will culminate in a very big rally organized by the party in every state capital in the country. And on this country nationwide campaign, exposing the efforts to destabilize the LDF government in Kerala, highlighting its pro-people policies. So this is it tonight.
So as we speak, Sanjay Rao has been sent to police custody for the ED as we speak right now. For the ED statement, you were criticizing Center for misusing, but at the other page, you were supporting the same central agency's action on another opposition party.
That central agency action is a CBI action under court direction. Bengal. It was the court that directed the CBI to examine this scam. Not the central government, not the state government. Both were protecting them, like they are protecting Narda and Sharada. It is the state, it is the court that intervened, made the CBI inquire, and this is the result. It's not a question of supporting that. Here, as far as Sanjay Rao ji is concerned, that is something part of the general understanding that we had. We condemn that. This is a gross misuse. And what they have declared is some 11 lakhs of rupees that they found, which they say is something. But anyway, now that the ED is pursuing, and the ED has got this powers that have been reconfirmed by the Supreme Court. So this is the gross misuse that we are condemning.
What about
Supreme Court. You see, all the opposition parties are actually under discussion right now to how to proceed on this issue of saying that this has to be reviewed. And the 3 judgments that have happened by benches headed by the judge who is now retired have all, one leading to the arrest of the Settlement, the other on the killings of tribals in Chhattisgarh, earlier Maoist operation, and now this ED thing. Now these are issues which the opposition parties are discussing how it should be taken up, and I think there is a widespread joint opposition statement likely to come today that you'll be doing, and how this issue will be taken up with the court. But definitely this judgment requires to be reviewed. That is the CPIM's position, very clear.
Is demanding a review of the court's SC judgment on ED?
The 2019 amendments made to the Money Laundering Act, which contains this overall omnibus authority to the ED, giving it a lethal status. All these amendments were the ones that were challenged. That is the case. All these amendments were upheld by the Supreme Court. That is what we are asking for that to be reviewed.
Will you file a review petition in court as a party?
Let's see, all the opposition parties today, as I told you, they are in discussion at the Parliament. So what it will be a collective thing that all the opposition parties together will do.
Vice President election, when you announced the joint candidate, have you got more support after that, or the support has declined for Margaret Alma?
That you'll know at the time of the voting. Your verdict was that there is a cross voting and the vote for Yashwant Sinha is declining and that for the BJP candidate increasing. In the final analysis, when the vote results came out, what does it show? Yashwant Sinha got the highest vote of an opposition candidate since 1952. So your media voting is different from actual voting. That's not correct. When it was reported to all the opposition parties that Mr. Sharad Pawar spoke to her, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi spoke to her, and what was reported to us was that she said that she doesn't have any candidate and she would go by what the opposition jointly decides. That is what is the report of those who have spoken to her have told us. So that is not... I don't think that's the correct thing, because Mr. Pawar and the Congress president would not unnecessarily say this if this is not the truth.
Sitaram, is it true that they had said, or TMC had conveyed that they want a minority Muslim candidate, but you chose a minority but not a Muslim candidate, that led to the confusion that they is not supported?
Muslim is not the way. They suggest, I believe, they have suggested a name from Kashmir, which was not... they were not, at that point of time, nobody from Kashmir was willing, like Farooq Abdullah, when we said, you please stand for the presidentship. They were not, and so that was the general feedback that was received by the other leaders. Okay? Thank you. Kerala is very quiet.